So I'm going to do a review on some chainsaws that I bought. I started with the Remington Outlaw. It's a 4620, which it had a good power, good everything about it. It was only a $120 chainsaw, but then again, I had some problems with sawdust getting in the carburetor, and then eventually the primer bulb stopped working, so I had to clean out the carburetor, and then I had to put the line back on the carburetor because somehow it popped off and it wasn't getting, the primer bulb wasn't pumping properly. As soon as I took it apart, put it back together, it seemed like we got it working again. Then I had to adjust the carburetor because the carburetor apparently, when you're working out in the field, does not do as well with the vibration. So apparently I had to keep messing around with the carburetor, which was very hard to adjust. So eventually I ended up buying a new chainsaw, one of them being the Stihl. So far this is the good one that I bought. But I also bought a Husqvarna. It was I can't remember, it was the 16-inch Husqvarna. It was brand new from Lowe's, and I just bought it, so it's the new model. So I got out in the woods, it's cutting awesome, loved it, loved the saw. But the problem with the saw was one thing. The saw would not run on a hot start. So what that did was create an issue. I had to pull it 30 times and I could not get it started. I thought it was flooded. I didn't even flood it because I didn't pump it or anything. And should have been on a hot start. I shouldn't have had to prime it or anything. I didn't even prime it. So after 30 times pulling it, wouldn't start. I tried priming it again, still wouldn't start. I hold the gas button in, it finally starts, and then it stalls. It kept stalling on me. So eventually I took this chainsaw back, the Husqvarna, back to Lowe's. Went to another Lowe's and bought another Husqvarna because I liked the way it cut. Hoping for the best. Maybe I got a bad saw or whatever. Went to the same different Lowe's and bought a different chainsaw, which was a half an hour from my house. Ended up having the same issue with the chainsaw. It kept dying on after a hot start. Not a cold start, or a hot start. It would not start at all. And then eventually I moved to this model, which is the Stihl MS250, which was a $369 saw. And loved it so far. So far I loved it. And I took it out in the woods once. Didn't have any startup issues. Didn't have any problems with it. Runs great. Has very few breakable parts compared to the other ones. It doesn't have a primer bulb on it or anything like that. It's just 4-button switches. And that's it. I mean, this thing is built like a tank. The sawdust, hopefully it doesn't get in here too good, like the Remington Outlaw I had, which had the cheap air filter on it, which this one has a better air filter on it, adjustable, everything on it. So I guess what I've learned is you got to spend the money, on a little bit more money to get a nicer saw. The Husqvarna I had was a $300 saw. It should have been running great. Brand new, out of the box, bad saw. Second saw, brand new, out of the box. They both went back to Lowe's. I got a return, a refund. I told them my problem. The gas was mixed properly because it was used with one of these measured bottles of 2-cycle engine oil, and everything was running. And I'm not an expert, a chainsaw expert, but I'm just a man that wants to cut down some trees. And my review is, so far the Stihl has been the winner, even though I had to pay twice as much for my saw. That thing hopefully will last me a lifetime. So my review on Remington Outlaw, not so good. Way too much dust getting in that carburetor. But it starts, the Remington does start better. It is easier to start. The pull handle is a lot easier to start. But I mean, I've had issues with the primer bulb and dust getting in the carburetor. So I'd rate that very low on the saw. I would probably, it looks comparable to the Craftsman, which I haven't tried the Craftsman, and I'm not going to. So this was probably, hopefully, my last saw, the Stihl MS250. It's a more powerful saw. It'll cut through logs like butter. Even the bigger logs that I've been through, it cut through really fast, and I was very impressed with it. So, I mean, you can get the Stihl MS170 or whatever it is, and it's only $189, but maybe you're not going to be able to cut through as big of logs. That's more for a branch trimming I was thinking about that one, but I decided to go with the bigger one because I have some huge logs in the back. And I figured why not spend the more money and get the nicer saw that'll cut through faster and I'll get the job done a lot quicker. So that's my review of the Husqvarna. I'm not going to start these up for you. You know what a chainsaw starts and it sounds like and everything like that and how it cuts. I mean, the cut's great on the Husqvarna. The cut's great on the Stihl. The outlaw cut okay. I mean, it was good as long as your blade is sharp and everything. So there's no problems with the cut. The question is dust getting into the carburetor? Are you going to have to repair this every 2 seconds? Is it going to start on you or is it going to keep stalling like the Husqvarna? And so I would suggest just go out and buy a Stihl, less breakable parts on them. They'll last you a lot longer. The Stihl warranty isn't that great. It's about a year, but what can you do? So that's my review on those 3 chainsaws. I'm a working man. I don't know. I'm not an expert, chainsaw expert, but everyone says Stihl. And for me, it's the way to go, I guess. All right. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.